I have my. Can y'all hear me now? Jake's here. Cheryl's here. Oh my gosh. Yeah, they can hear me now. I kind of have my. I got a new mic, and I'm not used. I'm used to unmuting. That mic is so cool. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Here's my mic. Super cool. It's a directional mic. So okay. So I'm going to start over again. Thank God you didn't hear all the slip ups. I said while trying to read this article. So I was on Reddit yesterday, and I was trying to. Um, I was trying. I was on there, and I subscribed to some of the subreddits that are like late stage capitalism, anti work, and this is the one that I found on late stage colonialism, and it's called Rednecks. It's a group called Rednecks for Black Lives. So I'll just go ahead and read some of the article to you, and it says, let's see, up until June of this year, Greg Reese of Campton, Kentucky, proudly featured a Confederate flag magnet on the trunk of his car. But after a series of realizations, including the police killing of George Floyd, Reese removed the magnet and created a new decal, one that reads Rednecks for Black Lives. The bumper sticker he designed features a new, inclusive, and colorful Southern pride flag. Although he says it took him a while to admit the problem, he now feels disgust at ever flying the Confederate flag. Some of us still are in the dark or want to stay in the dark about the Confederate flag, he says. And it was an icon growing up as a child. You saw it everywhere. He started a Facebook group to engage people to join the movement. He also connected with Southern Crossroads, a group of self described hillbilly rednecks from Kentucky, in order to educate himself and others. You can sit back and say, hey, this ain't my fight. And a lot of us did for a long time, he says. But I want to be one of those out there pulling people into it because it is their fight. It always has been our fight. South, North, white, black, brown, Latinos, everyone needs to get in this. Beth Howard, organizing director of Southern Crossroads, came up with the slogan Rednecks for Black Lives and wrote about the meaning behind the word redneck on Medium. While the term rednecks originated in the mid 1800s as a derogatory description of poor Southern farmers with sunburnt necks, it was reclaimed by Southerners by 1900. Records show that many called themselves proud rednecks and wore red scarves to political rallies. The tradition was continued when a major labor uprising occurred in 1921, she writes. Multiracial coal miners in Appalachia wore red bandanas to indicate they were in favor of unionizing. The full force of the government was brought down on these miners in what became known as the Battle of Blair Mountain in West Virginia. Many of them died fighting for a union that never came to fruition. I want to reclaim the word redneck, she says, and our history, and that history is made up of people rising up together. That gives us hope, and we need a lot of hope right now. Howard, who grew up in a poor working class mining family in rural Kentucky, says she was often angry at living a life where poor people are sacrificed for a few to be rich. She says society taught poor white people to divert blame onto people of color for their struggles instead of the real culprits, money hungry billionaires, politicians, and big businesses. But that narrative for her changed when she learned about the original redneck struggle for justice. As she writes, she's now showing up in defense of Black lives and invites other rednecks to do the same. Now, this is amazing. This is amazing. I love this. Please reclaim it. Please, because that was one of the reasons why I chose that as my YouTube channel name. I wanted to be proud of this because everybody always called us rednecks as a derogatory term, as a term that meant something that was ignorant and racist, which is what their PR teams really achieved in doing. They did a pretty damn good job because most people, when they hear the term redneck, they think ignorant, dumb, racist, type of person. Yeah, Bible thumping. All I know is Jesus and hating black people. That's it. That's what they think when they hear the term redneck. But originally, it was the coal companies that did that. They divided us up into camps based on the language we spoke or the color of our skin. They're the ones that tried to divide us, and the rednecks are the ones that united us all, that fought alongside anybody, black, white, brown, immigrant, non immigrant, it did not matter. We were fighting for workers' rights. And that's why that word is demonized to this day. So, yes, I chose that specifically on purpose to make sure that people know exactly what a redneck stands for. We stand for workers' rights. We stand for the rights of all people. It does not matter the color of your skin, whether what religion you practice or don't practice, where you're from, it does not matter. We're all equal and we all deserve the same treatment. We all deserve to be treated like human beings.
Can you reread that you read earlier, that article or something?
Yeah, I'm halfway through the article, or about a third of the way through the article. But I just wanted to stop and really reflect on that because that is so important. And so many people I see, there's a lot of people here that get that. There's a lot of people here that really truly practice Southern hospitality and welcome people no matter what, make them feel comfortable and at home, no matter where they're from or what they look like or what they do. That's what Southern hospitality should be about. But there's other people out there that have, you know, they've been hurt in some way. They're struggling. Well, you know what? I grew up poor too, but I'm not going to go hating on somebody that didn't do anything wrong to me at all when I can focus my attention on the real problem, which is, the politicians, the billionaires, the stockholders, the coal barons, all of them. They're the ones that are really doing this. Immigrants didn't do anything to me. Black people didn't do anything to me. People from another religion didn't do anything to me. None of them. So why is it that people choose to hate on them? Oh, because it's easier than taking on a whole system of rich, powerful people.
Instead of going after the real culprits.
And not to mention that I mean, they are pumped full of propaganda 24/7. If you turn on the TV at all, it's all right wing propaganda. It's all, if I turn on the local news, it's fluff pieces for Trump. While the rest of the nation is hating Trump and talking about how awful he is, if you turn on the local news here, you hear about him and Melania, you know, adopting puppies or something. Like that's what they frame it as. That's what they frame it as. I mean, you can't blame them for having access to only certain information. And some of it, they should know better. They should know better. But, it's a lot harder to admit that, powerful people are doing these things instead of just blaming somebody that you feel better, that you have more power over. Oh, let's check in with the chat real quick. Chris Wilkinson, hey, welcome. Wasn't the Confederate Army the part of the country that wanted slavery? Exactly. But the thing is and they touch on this in the article, is that it's been so whitewashed now that the people that are raised, that are flying the Confederate flag on their car or around their house, they don't know the real meaning behind it. They just think it's Southern pride, and that's a luxury that white people are allowed, of course, right? Because black people don't get that same luxury. They know exactly what that flag means, don't they? But meanwhile, I grew up in high school. I mean, it's embarrassing to admit, but I wore a shirt with a Confederate flag on it that said, if this flag offends you, you need a history lesson. No, I was the one that needed a history lesson. I just thought it meant Southern pride. And then once I got that history lesson that I was recommending everybody else to do, I realized, I don't want to wear that flag. I don't want anything to do with it. That doesn't represent me. I don't need a symbol. I'm proud of what I've done. I'm proud of, well, most of the things I've done. But there's a certain pride in surviving in such a hellscape like West Virginia, where there's no jobs, no opportunities, no education, there's nothing. And people take pride in that, and they slap the symbol of the Confederate flag on it and call it good. But I don't want that to represent me. And that's why I don't do that shit. I don't need that. I'll represent myself. You can judge me on my own actions and my own words. I don't need that. I don't need a picture to tell me where I'm from and what I've done. Yeah, exactly, Austin. And Hellscape pretty much describes America. But for some reason, everybody looks at the South and says, well, that's different. That's a different place. They do things differently. They believe differently. Mm-mm. Now, certain parts of the South are a lot more racist. Um, I grew up in West Virginia, born and raised, lived here. I spent about half a year in North Carolina, and I was shocked at the amount of racism there. I was like, y'all are the South too, right? But like where I'm from, I mean, I'm right outside the capital, so I guess maybe it's more inclusive. I don't know, but man, North Carolina needs to get their shit straight. Um, yeah, yeah, they were called Yankees. See, that West Virginia is tricky. The North don't want us, and the South don't want us. Nobody claims us, so we just kind of do our own thing. Um, Greg Munn, Republicans are a fascist cult. Not sure if it's reformable. I don't know. I mean, that's why we're working on, you know, partycrashers.us, nonpartyvoters.org, because where there's power, there's corruption. So we're trying to organize based on policies, because I don't know if you see all this math behind me, but when you look at the numbers, if we, instead of organizing on Democrat or Republican, if we organized on, for instance, Medicare for all, Medicare for all, the people that support Medicare for all crushes every other party. It crushes every single party. It crushes the Republicans. It crushes the Democrats. Everything. If we just organized around one candidate that supported Medicare for all, we would dominate the elections. But the problem is that people do not feel confident, especially after 2016 and what the Democratic Party did, throwing out ballots, weighting certain votes, throwing out votes, switching people's parties, and all these shenanigans that they did, corruption. People are just like, what's the point in voting anymore? They're just going to throw my vote out. They're not going to count it. It doesn't matter. But we're actually working on a way to where you get to vote for the candidate that you want, and a system in place for after you vote, basically you uh, confirm your vote. Either we're still working on a specific system, but a confirmation of, hey, I voted for this person in this state, uh, and you send that in to our website or by mail or whatever, and then after that, we'll compare those numbers to the numbers that they're claiming voted for that candidate, and then after that, if it doesn't add up, which probably won't after 2016, we know, um, we'll go and take that and take the legal steps needed to make sure that those votes are accounted for, or at least bring attention to the fact that that they weren't counted at all. So we're trying to reform all these things. We're trying to reform every step of the process, because this is the basic foundation of our democracy. If you cannot go and cast a vote for somebody that you think is going to represent you and do right by you and do the policies that you want, then then voting means nothing. Voting means nothing if we have no one to vote for. Grimmy the Clown, West Virginia is for lovers. Yes. And if I am voted president, I will rename Virginia as East Virginia. Just so people know that West Virginia is actually a legitimate state. There's too many people out there that think that West Virginia is just the western part of Virginia.
I sent that information in regards to the stuff behind you.
Oh, okay.
And message you.
Yes, it's all about ending corruption and just transferring power because there's checks and balances in place for the different branches of government. But when they all agree on screwing us over, it does not mean anything. It means nothing. There's no
Yeah.
checks, there's no balances. We have no checks on them, right? Oh, hey Howard. Howard Kramer. They needed rank choice voting on AGT tonight. Christina Ray should have won. Oh, yeah, ranked choice voting. That's another thing that we're trying to get done. We're trying to reform all these things. Yeah. From there's two parts to this. The beginning phase, which is everything, the election and everything that leads up to the voting booth. And then there's the second phase, which is what happens after you leave. So you can go, everything could be right, you do everything right, you cast your vote, everything is great, but then what happens after that? If you pay a bill, if you buy a package, everything is tracked. You know where it is every step of the way. Why is that not the case for our votes? And why is it that um, a lot of these states have, within the past few years, passed laws that if you take a picture of your ballot, it makes your ballot, uh, it makes it obsolete. Like they won't count it. It totally erases it if you document how you voted. That's your vote. You should be able to document it any way that you want. And you should be able to do that, considering that you're just sending it out into the wind and hoping that the people that control things decide to screw themselves over by actually counting your vote. But I'm getting sidetracked. That's our. But that it does tie into this. It does tie into this because no matter what issue it is that is important to you or issues, you know, nobody's a one issue type of person. We all care about multiple things. So I mean, my thing is just treating people equally and like human beings. You know, there needs to be a standard in which we're all, uh, you know, taken into account. I mean, like Nancy Pelosi gets and Donald Trump gets, you know, socialized health care. They get the best of everything. They make a living wage. They get to have health care. They get to have all these opportunities. They get to go to college. Their kids don't have to go and sacrifice or risk their lives or their limbs in a war for profit in order to pay for their college so they can get out of college and live in debt and not get the job that they wanted because nobody's hiring anymore. That's not a thing for them. They don't have to worry about those things. And the same things that they do to us, they do to everybody. They the same things that they do to the black community is what they're going to impose on us all if they haven't already. So if we allow it to happen to a certain group of people, best believe that it's going to be happening to us because we don't have stocks. We're not shareholders. We do not count. They don't give a damn. So that's the importance of this. That's why, I mean, this is a tactic of division. They want poor white people to hate poor black people. That's it. They want us to hate people that are in the same damn boat or worse off, more than likely, than us. And I refuse to do that. I refuse to blame somebody that has no black person has ever done this to me. No immigrant has done this to me, you know, or my community. It's always been the politicians, it's always been the business owners, the billionaires. Exactly what they said in the article. They didn't steal our jobs. The billionaires and the business owners are the ones that gave it away. It's not their fault. So let's go to the chat. Jake, man, it's so good to see you. I haven't seen you in ages. I
know,
hope you're
right?
doing
Where the fuck is
okay.
that motherfucker been?
I hope you're doing good. And Howard, too.
Good to see Howard. He's a good kid.
Yeah. I mean, it's just the hate that just tears us apart.
It's divide and conquer, dude.
But that's by design. They know it works. It's worked for centuries on end.
Divide and conquer.
It's worked. It worked before our empire. It'll work after our empire unless we do something about it. So let's get back to the article. I want to finish this because it is super important. I hope if you live in Appalachia, in southern West Virginia, the southern United States, I really hope that you. I don't really care for the icon; it's not that great, but the that's not the important thing. The important thing is what they're fighting for, and what they're fighting for, is right. So these are the interview highlights. It says on the Confederate flag in the Black Lives Matter movement. Greg Reese. First of all, let me say that, like most people in Appalachia, many people in the South, I was never against Black Lives Matter. The Confederate flag to us, it held a different meaning. We were told differently. We grew up that way. We didn't know any better until we got older and our eyes opened up a little and we started seeing things. And it took us a while to take it off. And it took me a while to admit the problem. And I was well aware that it wasn't a good thing by the time I was in my 20s. A lot of people down here never see the Confederate flag as a racist thing, even though it's blaringly racist. We realize that now, a lot of us. Some of us are still in the dark or want to stay in the dark about it. And it was an icon growing up as a child. You saw it everywhere. You knew it stood for rebellion. It stood for you standing up for your rights because we were taught that way. It's so whitewashed. You feel disgust about ever having flown it. There probably were people that saw that feared me when they saw it. And that really gave me chills when I read that. I was just like, man, here I never, the only thing I ever owned with the Confederate flag on it was that t shirt. But can you imagine anybody that saw me wearing that t shirt and they knew what it meant? And the fear that they must have had, or the anger that it must have inflicted on them, man, it just, that, I mean, I know I was dumb in high school, but still, there's people out here that are adults that still do that shit. And it's just, you don't understand. Like, they don't get it. They don't get when they see that thing, it makes them feel pride. But when other people see that, it brings back not pride, fear, anger, murder, lynchings. I mean, these are all things, slavery. That's what it makes them think of. While we look at it and say, yeah, Southern pride, woohoo. You know, it's just, it's a dog whistle. You could say the same thing to a group of people, two groups of people. One person will hear one thing and the other group will hear another thing. So we need to educate people and teach the people that I know and the people that they know that will join my group, Rednecks for Black Lives, on Facebook. I'm trying to teach them all these little things that honestly, yeah, we probably should have known a lot of this stuff. There's a lot of people saying like all lives matter and all this stuff, and they don't understand what they're saying. They just don't understand that the issue is not really even black and white. The issue is the haves and the have nots. The people at the top keeping us down. People of color are being treated far worse than us. And that's another dividing tactic, which, and let's get into the issue of white privilege, which has been brought up. When I first heard that term, I was like, well, that doesn't apply to me. I'm not privileged. I grew up in coal country, Chemical Valley. I never had a penny to my name. Growing up, I didn't know when I came home from school if we were going to have electric or what was going to be sold out of the house. Sometimes I come home, there was no TV. Sometimes I came home, the car was gone because they sold it. I mean, just I never thought of my life as privileged, but there are certain things that I don't have to worry about. One of which is putting my name on an application and it being rejected because it sounds black. When I get pulled over, I don't have to worry about uh, somebody, a police officer gunning me down just because the color of my skin. Or, even though I've made all these, accomplishments and achievements, and then, everybody else just chalking it up to, uh, you know, uh, what's that called? Uh, Equality, where they have to hire people. You know what I'm talking about?
Equality where they have.
I'm drawing a blank. Um, where they have to hire, minorities.
Oh yeah, it's
Affirmative action. Thank you,
right.
Howard. God, sometimes I, yeah. So no matter what you achieve, and even if you do achieve great things, they just say, well, that's just affirmative action. I mean, that doesn't happen.
That didn't work and it's the wrong.
There's a lot of leeways that I'm allowed as a white person that black people just aren't allowed. You know, uh, if I get caught, if I have weed on me and I get caught, then most likely it's a slap on the wrist and I get to go home. If I was black, I would be in prison doing slave labor. I'd lose my family. I'd lose my kids. I'd lose everything. My job. I'd have a record. I wouldn't be able to allow to vote or do anything. So there's just certain things that yes, while I have not had a life of privilege, there are certain things that yeah, I have definitely not had to worry about. I've never had to give the talk to my kids about, hey, here's how you don't get killed by racists.
Keep your hands on 10 and 2. Do not.
Yeah, I've never had to have that conversation with my kids. I've never had to tell them, look, when a police officer pulls you over, just do everything you're supposed to do. Keep your hands visible because if not, you're going to get shot. It's not a thing. These are things that I don't have to worry about. So yeah, I mean, nobody else should either. I mean, to live a life in fear. I mean, you've got Breonna Taylor's family. They just got a settlement for like $12 million. But what good is that? What good is that $12 million? Yeah, okay. They don't have to worry about their mortgage, but every single moment that they are alive, they have to worry about police coming and killing them because that's what happened to Breonna. She was murdered in her sleep. So at any point, based on the whim of other people, of people that are racist, are they allowed to live? So what good is $12 million when you get murdered in your sleep? When your daughter is dead, when your girlfriend is dead, that what good is that money? I mean, yeah, okay, that's one thing you don't have to worry about. Okay, I don't have to worry about paying my rent. But I could be murdered, or my any of my loved ones could be murdered at any point, and I have no say whatsoever. And the system still continues. Yeah, they got $12 million, but what happened to the police officers? What happened in the system to change anything to make sure that there's not another Breonna Taylor? And how many Breonna Taylors have happened since her? Too many. And we act like this is a problem for black people. This is not a black problem. It's happening to black people, but this is all of our problems.
Money out of politics, your article.
I did an article. I wrote an article at some point that was on um, non-party voters,
Still there.
and I highlight all these things. I talk about all the disenfranchisement, everything that they've done, the ways that they've kept the black community down, ADOS, um, you know all these things, and how we're going to fix it. It's on nonpartyvoters.org
Or
or partycrashers.us. And let me go to chat. It says that did not work well for black people. No, because then everything that you've actually worked for and earned is just chalked up to, well, it was given to you. It's just a way to take away black people's achievements. That's it. Positive discrimination. Yeah. Um, Cheryl, That is one of the worst conversations I had with my two kids. Exactly. And that's not one that I mean, I've had the conversation with my kids about how other people are treated differently because of the way they look, and that they should be aware of that and don't ever do that. Everybody's the same. I've had that conversation, but I've never had to actively teach them things to make sure that they aren't killed,
Yeah.
or how to get a job even though you're black. That's not
Or
something,
brown.
or that's just not something I've ever had to deal with. Yes, exactly, grooming the clown. Exactly. Taxpayers have to pay that settlement. Now, let's take into account doctors. Let's think about doctors. Doctors provide a service, right? They keep you healthy, they keep you safe, they make sure that if something's wrong with you, that they go in and fix it, and do so to the best of their ability and heal you. They're healers. Well, that's pretty much what the cops should be, right? When something is dangerous or bad or wrong in the community, they're supposed to go in and protect and make sure that everybody is healed and safe and good, right? They're supposed to be the protectors, but it's the opposite. And there's nothing, no law on their behavior. And if they do mess up, which they do all the time, um, it's us. It's the community that pays for it, not the cops. The cops just go and move to another state or another precinct and get another job. They don't have to worry. There's no consequences to their actions. So I think that they should put in place something like the doctors have, like malpractice insurance. Now, doctors are kept on a very short leash because if they mess up, they get sued. It comes out of their pocket when they make mistakes. They have to go and pay these families, and even after paying those families, their insurance goes up. It comes out of their pocket, so they are.
Malpractice.
I said that. So it is. They are made, they are incentivized to do right by the people that they are supposed to be helping, and that's exactly what these cops should do. They should have their own form of malpractice insurance that they have to pay, and so when they screw up, it comes out of their pocket. They're not rehireable. Who wants to hire a doctor that is guilty of malpractice? Like, I let a couple of people die before. I made a few mistakes. A couple of people ended up dead. So you gonna let me do that operation or what? Mm-mm. No hospital would touch them, and that should be exactly the same way that we treat these cops. But they have immunity because they have power.
Money in politics are
Already said. Um, Congress is about. Cheryl said Congress is about to pass the Crown Law, which where jobs cannot discriminate black people for their hairstyles. That would be amazing. That would be amazing. I've heard so many stories about black women that wear their hair naturally, and it's called unprofessional. They get called into HR, they get sent home, and until they adopt a white hairstyle, they're not allowed to go back to work. Exactly. Grimmy says that the police have zero deterrent to kill people. Yeah. What's going to stop them? Yeah, I mean, just little things like that would go a long way because it's like a shaming. It's a shaming of this is this is who you are naturally, and this is not right. You have to conform yourself to a different culture, a different standard. Just you being you is unprofessional, and that just should not fly. YouTube recommend. Oh, Seamaster. Hey, Seamaster. Good to have you here. Um, let's be real. Money in politics is where this. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, people aren't naturally born with hate in their hearts. They're not born racist. This is a conditioning of the environment that we're in the system, and they put these uh you know systems in place. They know that if you give people poverty and no education and give them a boogeyman, to hate, that people would naturally gravitate towards that. But left to our own devices, we would question things and learn things and seek out information and actually go after the people, that are really causing this. But let's get back to the article. I got to get through this article. Let's see. On why he decided to get rid of the Confederate flag car decal and start educating himself. Reese. The catalyst was the George Floyd killing and this wonderful child on the news talking about her father's death and saying, Daddy changed the world. And when I heard that, I cried. My own daughter was sitting there and she teared up. We realized then, we need to be part of this. We need to help change this world for this child, for her future, for everyone's future. I saw this Rednecks for Black Lives as being a wonderful way to get people around here to support the movement in a way that they would feel more comfortable with. If they put Black Lives Matter on their car, a lot of people might think the wrong thing for their area. A lot of people are ignorant about what it really means and think it's a negative thing and against whites, but plenty of people around here realize that it's nothing to do with whites. It's about the lives that are being taken by police, people of color being mistreated through, the last 150 years. And we could probably double that to way more. That's been going on for a long time, much longer than that.
Michael just joined. Michael Method.
Um, yeah. So yeah, and you know what? I was talking to this one girl, this one of my friends, her daughter, and they are about as redneck can get. I mean, they are outlaw rednecks. Like they do their own thing. They're not they no shame, no nothing. I mean, they do what they want when they want, right? And a lot of people that would see them and the way that they live would think, they're probably racist. But I started talking to her, and I just mentioned the George Floyd, killing, and she went off. She said that's not right. What he did was wrong, and he should never have put his knee on his neck. All this stuff, and went the fuck off about it, like as if he was her brother or her son. That's the way that she went. I mean, it was like a 30-minute tirade that she went on, and I loved it. I mean, that's great. That's exactly how we should feel. What happens to one of us, we should all show up, no matter what, no matter who it's being done towards. Even the people, I mean, hell, even people like Alex Jones when he got his free speech removed.
We're going to DC soon.
I mean, that's why they do it. They pick certain people because they know that people won't care, that they'll go along with them being oppressed. That's why they do it. They do it to the black community. They do it to ADOS. They do it, just whoever. Hey, Schultze.
Michael just joined.
Yeah, we were trying to figure out percentages and stuff.
I put him up there.
Okay, good. So let's finish up this article. It's almost done. Um, so on the feedback on the new decals, well, with this slogan, and when I started running with it, making the decals for people to put on their cars. A lot of people loved it, but I'd like to say we here in Appalachia, especially the ones that want to be known that they're not racist, that they want to stand with Black Lives Matter, we want you to know that we're actually a majority from what we can tell. This new Southern Pride flag, this is the attitude to change. You have the Confederate bars in the background with a heart handshake of a person of color and a white person, and that represents the South awakening and the new thought process and the new Southern pride that I hope sweeps across, the whole South and even the whole nation. You don't have to be from the South to get on board with Rednecks for Black Lives at all. I would love anybody and everybody to get behind the Black Lives Matter with us. Um, so Howard says, I grew up in a small rural majority white community. My dad was a surface miner, a strip miner, and we had a lot of joy and we had a lot of suffering too. And that suffering came from experiencing the effects of living in a country where poor people are sacrificed for a few to be rich. I say that because, I was really angry and I had every right to be. And on the attempt to divide poor white from the minorities in order to weaken their potential strength if they work together. Howard says, That's the purpose of our organization, Southern Crossroads. We are suffering poor white people, and it's been going on for a long time. And we're told to blame black people and people of color for that suffering. And what that does, and what it has always done, is divert us away from the real villains, who are billionaires, crooked politicians, big businesses who make money while we blame each other. And so we really want to interrupt these false narratives, but we know we can make a different choice. And many of us have, and the path is one where white people can join with black people and people of color to work together with to win dignity and respect for everyone in the South. There were so many rural protests and prayer vigils and acts of solidarity in defense of Black lives over the past few months. We get a lot of blame for racism in the country. We get a lot of blame for, the rise of Trump or Mitch McConnell. And I really want to point out that rich white people are the ones who are responsible for Trump and Mitch McConnell. But what I think is so important about organizing poor white people and poor white people in the South is that the South has been overlooked for so long that the right has just laid claim to it. It's a power vacuum. And often the white left has written us off. And in order to win that, kind of justice that we need in order to show up in defense of Black lives and to create health care and jobs for people and access to safe housing, we have to win over more white people. And to me, when we're working together with Black people and people of color, that means we get health care. That means we are safe from the police. We have safer communities. We have housing. We have access to food and shelter and things that we need. Exactly. Exactly.
Michael came on, Methane and Grimmy just came on. A lot of people jumping on. Fuck.
And um, I feel like, I mean, these are things that, I mean, if most of y'all have been watching my channel for a while, I've been talking about these same things. I've talked about the divide and conquer tactics. I've talked about, what they do to them is what will be done to all of us. I've said this, and not that that should be a reason to do it, just for the fact that it's happening to them, we should do what's right.
Correct.
But in case that's not enough for some people, it will happen. It will happen to all of us. It will. So, I mean, we should just do it because it's right. But, some people just need that personal incentive, right? And I like what they said about, we get a lot of blame. And that's true. We do get a lot of blame. I mean, there's a lot of ignorance here. Sure. There's a lot of, you can see your fair share of hatred. But I have spent some time in California. I've spent some time in a lot of other states. And you know what? Stupidity and racism is not just something that happens in the South. It is not. It is not. You can go anywhere in the United States and find that type of dumb shit. Anywhere. But yet, the South is, of course, Californians have it all figured out. The coast, the coastal states, they have it all figured out. They have everything worked out. They have, Medicare for all. They have a living wage. They have, it's a democratic liberal paradise. Obviously not. Obviously not. But that's how the media portrays it. I've had people say, like, well, if you didn't want your water poisoned, then you should have voted a better way. Well, I did vote a better way. I voted. I did what I was supposed to do. A lot of people did. But we still end up somehow with the same politicians, right? Doesn't matter who you vote for, they still do the same damn thing. Poison your water, take your money, sell your jobs overseas, and then blame the minorities for everything that they've done. So, no, it is not just the South that does these things. It is everybody that does these things. And on top of that, we're flyover states. Nobody gives a damn about coming to West Virginia or Tennessee or Georgia or any of these places, any place in the South. The Democrats won't have anything to do with us. And then they act like, oh, well, they're just a bunch of white racists. Well, who else do you think lives in the South? You think it's just all white people? It is. There are Black people, there are immigrants, there are, Latino people, there's everybody. Yes. And by them not coming here and then not seeing it worth their while, they get the minorities get punished twice as much because there's nobody here taking up for them. There's nobody here speaking out for the issues that impact them. Instead, they promise us coal. That's it. That's their whole speech. I mean, 28% of our jails here in West Virginia are made up of Black people, and yet they're only like 3.7% of our population. And I have never, even though I've questioned them on it, I have never heard a politician address that fact. We commit crimes at the same rate, but yet Black people are locked up, what, like 10% more? I think, if I'm doing my math right. Um, okay. But yeah, but none of these politicians feel like that's important enough to talk about because they don't feel like they need to win over their vote. They don't feel like they need to talk about that to win over my vote. And they just fly over. And it's a lost cause. Let the Republicans have the South. Screw it. We got California. We got New York. Fuck it. Right? That's the attitude. They act like there's absolutely nobody here other than white, just dumb white racists. And so the culture continues, and all these problems of racism stuff will continue because there's absolutely, I mean, there's people like me and people like ones that started, Rednecks for Black Lives. I mean, there's a lot of good people here, but we're just average people. We're not politicians. We don't get to make the laws. We don't own the businesses to make sure that everybody's being treated fairly. So all we can do is go out and talk to our family, talk to our friends, and talk to our neighbors and make sure, you know. And I just don't get when the hell did Southerners start liking cops? Because when I was growing up, nobody liked the cops. Not even the white people I grew up with. Nobody liked the cops. They're just like, oh man, they're just here trying to ruin our good time and freedom, all this stuff. They just want to do their own thing, and here come the cops trying to ruin their good time. All of a sudden now they are just down on the ground licking them boots clean. I don't know. It's just like a total shift. Like it went from that to boot licking. It went from we had, even though the Democrats were never our saviors, we had democratic ideals, and now we're voting for Trump. We have a coal baron as our governor. It's just like we just went full blown to the other side, and I think the Democrats are to blame for that one. The Democrats abandoned them, used them, took them for everything they're worth, and gave them nothing in return. So they are angry and pissed off, and they are voting for people like that and supporting people like that, even though it ain't helping anybody. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I read the comments, Grilling. Usually I'll just go on a rant and then I'll check back in with, every so often I'll check back in. Oh, Catalytic Centaur from Germany. Hey, good to have you here. What's your stance on UBI? Um, I would rather, instead of having a UBI, I would like to have expand the federal jobs program, and have a jobs program, and expand Social Security, and then we could have, I mean, something like UBI, but I would rather, expand Social Security and have a federal jobs program, and then I think that would take care of the of UBI, because if you're able and capable of working, then yes. If you're not, then you can go on Social Security. Um, but no, I'm not completely opposed to UBI, but I just think that yeah, that's my idea for it. Yeah. If this was 10 years ago, YouTube outlets would never even cover the Breonna Taylor case. Yeah, probably. No, back then I think they were just still like, taking videos of lighting their farts on fire. I don't know if YouTube was really known for their progressive media outlets back then. So Catalytic Centaur, I think it's important to be able to say no without the fear of sanctions. I consider this to be a pillar of democracy. Yeah, and Schultz said, yeah, it's everywhere. We're a racist nation, no doubt about it. It's in our history for many. It's in their blood, whatever color they are. We have a long way to go. Yeah, and I've seen so many people say, well, don't get distracted by racism. That's just a dividing tactic. We need to really talk about these things. But that's the thing is, yes, for us, it's like, yeah, of course we need to get money out of politics. Yes, we need to do all these things, but at the same time, how are we? This is a beast. This is a machine that is running the world, not just our country, all the countries, bombing, innocent civilians, staging coups, doing all these things. So this is a well-oiled machine. It's a well-oiled machine, and to say that, like, it's just us that it impacts, or that, it isn't. It really isn't. um it's just our, our corruption has spread throughout the world. It's really sad to see. It'd be one thing if it just hurt us. That would be bad enough, but it's the whole world. It impacts the whole world. Comrade Rick, welcome. We got Comrade Rick.
There's a bunch of people there.
Yeah, I don't know what's been happening, but the past few live streams I've been doing, I've been getting a lot of new people.
Yeah, you should. Thank you.
Yeah, Yazetta Smith says California and New York are where the big donors live. That's all the Democrats care about. Fuck them entirely. Yeah, yeah. Everybody's telling me, oh, shaming me because I don't vote for Biden, or I don't vote for whoever the Democratic puppet is that still goes along with the Republicans. Oh, well, excuse the fuck out of me. But, you know, how dare I turn my backs on them after everything they've done for my community? Like, poisoning our water with lead and coal slurry. Locking up black people. Oh, geez, how could I be so rude to them? It's so impolite. I'm so rude. Um, I don't care. Fuck them. Fuck them all. That's what Joe Manchin. We had a parade out here. Joe Manchin tried to walk up to me. I just said, I went. he just he started to come over like he's gonna shake my hand, and I went. Mm-mm, mm-mm. He just kept turned and kept walking. Turned and kept walking. Don't you? No, not today. Not today, Satan. Not today. I have my kid with me. I'm trying to enjoy a fucking parade. Do not start your shit with me, Joe Manchin.
Get behind me, Satan.
Do not start. Oh yeah, I am not. Yeah, they know about me. I had Chris Pritt. He came knocking on my door one day. I said, "Well, that's interesting." He goes,
Who's Chris
"I'm."
Pritt?
He's a. I think he's a Republican. Not that it matters, but he was like, "Oh, if you vote for me," he knocked on my door, opened the door. He goes, "If you vote for me, I'm running for whatever, and I'm running for Senate or House of Delegates." He said, "If you vote for me, I'll bring jobs to the state." And I said, "What kind of jobs? What kind of jobs? Are you talking about like an Amazon, warehouse kind of job? Or are you talking about an actual living wage with benefits that's not going to dump poison into our waters and our air and our soil? That kind of thing." And he's like, "Oh, well, there'll be good jobs. Oh, good jobs. Good jobs." Mm. And by creating jobs, what they mean is relaxing regulations to make sure to entice and taxes to make sure that these businesses to make ourselves so vulnerable that businesses can't help but to move here. So I asked him about it. I said, "You know what? If you really want to come on and talk about your platform, I invite everybody onto this show. I've had Republicans, Democrats, um, you know, Green Party, Democratic Socialists. I've had everybody on the show, and please come on and talk about your platform. I invite them all." So I invited them on. Come on and talk about your platform, and let me ask you a few questions about it. And I said, he said, "Oh well, what's the name of your channel? And I said Redneck Economics, and he goes, "Oh, I've heard about you." and he and he and he noped right the fuck out of there. Well, I mean, within 10 seconds. Well, oh, thank you for your time, and was gone. Booked it. Because I get on there and I hound them on Twitter. I hound them on their live streams. I go after them. I let them know they can go around and do all their stupid shit, but I will consistently be the thorn in their side. I'm not going to let them do it without, with peace of mind. I'm going to be there to constantly annoy them every step of the way.
Fucking Grimmy says this country needs an enema.
I need something, electroshock therapy or something.
Yeah.
Again,
Black
in
Lives. Talking
in
about that
German.
Black Lives protest. There was a bunch of fucking Michelle Obama. What's that? What did they talk? What was that? That quote of Michelle.
When they go low, we go high.
Oh my
But Catalytic Centaur says, again, I'm German, but I would have voted Stein. I did.
I did.
The first time that Obama ran, I voted for him. And then the next time that I voted was for Bernie in the primary. And then after the primary, I voted for Jill Stein.
Me too.
Because I thought at least maybe we can get the percentage up enough to where, the Green Party gets on the stage or gets funding or something. Because there was just nobody to vote for in the Democratic Party at all. But
no, Derek said that fucking he saw a sign that said Antifa Biden /Harris.
where did they get their information that they think that Antifa?
Antifa's tiny. They're nothing.
No,
They're
they're not like. No,
they're not. They're about 2% of what fucking BLM is.
I've been despairing. Michael Mathern says, I've been despairing about climate change. Humans are so short sighted that they won't do anything until completely obvious disasters are happening everywhere, at which point it is too late. Yeah, we need to see it to believe it.
Yeah.
And even though, obviously, if you look around, yeah, you could see it, but we won't let ourselves see it, I guess. That's too scary for us to think about. We'd rather just watch Dancing with the Stars or whatever. Yeah, it's okay if the world burns. I'm just trying to figure out who's going to win The Voice.
Oh. Yeah, maybe we should just watch Cuties. Oh my god.
I mean, we could go on and on for days. But yeah, I just wanted to say, if you please check out Rednecks for Black Lives. It seems like they're really trying to do right, and they've got the right idea.
Their heart's in the right place.
Yeah, their heart's in the right place. They're doing all the right things. They're just trying to unite people, and I love that they're trying to help people, and at the same time, making. I try to anybody that's trying to help somebody else, or is making a good name for people in the South. Best believe I will be here to promote them and try to share what they're about. So Michael Mather says hurricanes keep happening faster and stronger, yet most of the people around me are still Republican for some insane reason. It's willful. I mean, we have to just trust that we're stronger than that. Like, there are things that happen. They think like, the subconscious part of their brain just tries to like shut all that stuff out because they think that, that part of our brain thinks that we can't handle that much. We can't handle trying to figure out how to survive and live and do all these things. And at the same time, take on such a problem like climate change or racism or corruption or any of this stuff. But we can. I mean, I've done it. I've been there. I've been there where I was like, I don't know how I'm going to eat the next day. I don't know how. I mean, I've gone days on end without eating. I've had those times. I have had those
Me
times
too,
in my
me
life.
too, me too. Can I
So,
get a hell yeah?
you can do both. You can, you can still acknowledge these things, and it's not gonna make your brain explode.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of you are in the same position. It's not like anybody really is out there, thriving and doing great. I mean, everybody's got their struggles, and y'all are still here. I just don't understand, like, why is it that we can do things like this, but other people are just like, I can't deal with it. La 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 la. I just don't understand, what the difference is.
You keep us off the streets.
I don't know. But anyway, I'm really glad to have everybody here, and y'all have given me some wonderful things to, information and things to think about. And
Couple days, I'll be back on.
yeah, yeah, in a couple of days I'll be back on. I'm usually not on between Sundays and Wednesday, or Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. That's usually my off days, because that's when I'm a full time teacher for my kids. So, uh, yeah, unpaid. I'm trying.
You're doing their job now.
Since my kids can't go to school, I got to be a full time teacher, and it's like a Batman thing. Full time teacher, and mom by day, by night. Dismantle the establishment, kind of thing. So, yeah. So I'll be back on definitely before Sunday, and we'll talk about some more things. And if you have any topics that you want to talk about, or information that I've overlooked in this, just leave it in the comments. Oh, hey Dan. All right, stay safe out there. But yeah, thank you everybody for watching and listening, and sharing your information. And I will catch you guys next time.